Random facts about every country in Europe. There are over 750,000 former military bunkers in Albania scattered throughout the countryside, mountains and urban areas of the country. The bunkers were constructed between 1967 and 1986 as a means of defending the small communist nation after its withdrawal from the Warsaw Pact left it with no allies. Andorra is the only nation in the world to have a monarch who is democratically elected. However, the monarch is not elected by the people of Andorra themselves, instead being elected by the people of France. The reason for this is because the President of France, alongside the Bishop of Urgell, serve as co-princes of Andorra. This arrangement began when France was still a monarchy and continued on even after France became a republic, with the title of Prince of Andorra being transferred from the King of France to the President of France. In 1913, Vienna, the capital of Austria, was home to Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler, Leon Trotsky and Sigmund Freud. The four lived in the same neighbourhood and even regularly frequented the same coffee shop. Belarus is the only nation in Europe to still carry out the death penalty as punishment for a crime, executing on average 4 people a year. While on a map Belgium might look like one nation, in reality it is arguably more like 2. Flanders, the northern region of Belgium, speaks Dutch and is culturally Dutch, while the southern region of Wallonia speaks French and is culturally French. The two distinct regions have been part of the state of Belgium since it gained independence from the Netherlands in the early 1800s. Other than the microstate of Monaco, Bosnia is the European nation with the shortest coastline. Its 20km or 12-mile long coastline splits Croatia in two. Even though bagpipes are well known for their association with Scotland, they were actually invented in Bulgaria. More Neanderthal remains have been found in Croatia than in any other country in the world, indicating that the largest Neanderthal community in the world lived in Croatia. The Czech Republic is currently in an international property dispute with the royal family of Liechtenstein. The dispute is over the ownership of several castles as well as the ownership of 500 square kilometers of land, an area of land nearly 3 times the size of Liechtenstein itself. The lands were seized from the House of Liechtenstein in 1945 when the communist government of Czechoslovakia seized all German-owned lands in the country. The Kingdom of Denmark has the largest overseas possession of any country. Its overseas territory of Greenland stretches over 2.16 million square kilometers or 836,000 square miles, about 50 times the size of Denmark itself. Estonia is the only nation in the world in which access to the internet is considered a legal human right. 90% of the country is covered by Wi-Fi and government-built free Wi-Fi hotspots are all over the country. Voting and most bureaucratic activities all can be done and often solely done online. Although England is generally known as a nation other countries celebrate their independence from, it may come as a surprise to some to learn England actually has its own Independence Day, although it generally goes uncelebrated. Gaining independence from the Danish North Sea Empire on the 8th of June 1042, when the English crown returned to Anglo-Saxon hands after being in the possession of the kings of Denmark for several decades. Finland consistently ranks as the happiest country in the world in the United Nations World Happiness Report. Given the nation's good social programs, beautiful scenery and overall healthy lifestyle, this shouldn't come as a surprise. France owns more of the ocean than any other country thanks to its various overseas departments and territories scattered throughout the globe. Its EEZ of 11.6 million square kilometers is larger than the area of Canada and about 20 times the size of terrestrial France. There are more castles in Germany than there are McDonald's in the United States, with there being about 14,000 McDonald's in America. Meanwhile, there are 25,000 castles in Germany. Greece has 6,000 oceanic islands, of which 227 are inhabited, making it the nation with the most inhabited islands in all of Europe. Holy See, better known as Vatican City, is the smallest nation in the world both in terms of land area and population, having an area of less than half a square kilometre and a population of 825. It is home to and administered by the Pope. It is also entirely located within the city of Rome. Hungary has a pre-approved list of names you are legally allowed to use to name your child. If you wish to name your child a name that isn't on said list, you must submit an application to the government. Even though Ireland itself has a population of just under 7 million people, there are over 100 million people in the world who claim some degree of Irish ancestry, a population 14 times larger than Ireland itself and higher than the populations of every European country bar Russia. Iceland is the least forested nation in all of Europe, having a forest area of 2%. Its low forest area is largely due to the large-scale logging which took place on the island during medieval times to build ships and cabins. Despite its association with the ancient Roman Empire, Italy is actually one of the youngest nations in Europe, not fully uniting until 1871. Latvia is responsible for the invention of jeans. Latvian tailor Jacob Davis invented jeans in 1871 after immigrating to the United States, more specifically to Nevada. Liechtenstein is arguably one of the last true monarchies in Europe, as unlike in other European monarchies where the monarch has only ceremonial powers, the Prince of Liechtenstein has the power to veto or block any law passed by the Parliament of Liechtenstein. The last time this happened was in 2011 when the Prince blocked a bill which would have relaxed the small nation's abortion laws. Lithuania is one of the only countries in the world to celebrate two official Independence Days. February 16th is celebrated to mark Lithuania's independence from the Russian Empire, and March 11th is celebrated to mark Lithuania's independence from the USSR. 47% of Luxembourg's population is made up of foreigners, the highest percentage of any European country excluding microstates. Malta is the only nation in Europe to speak a Semitic language. The Maltese language derives from Arabic thanks to the several centuries Malta spent under Islamic rule. Despite the Arabic origins of its language, Malta today is almost entirely Catholic and not Muslim due to the island being gradually re-Christianized after the Norman conquest of 1127. Moldova spent 3 years without a president from 2009 until 2012 when no single party held a majority in the Moldovan parliament, meaning no party had enough MPs to elect a president. Monaco is the most densely populated nation in Europe, having a density of 18,700 people per square kilometre. However, as its land area is only 2 square kilometres, its population is still only about 36,000 people, making it simultaneously one of the least populous nations in Europe. Montenegro is the youngest UN member state in Europe, becoming an independent nation and joining the UN in 2006. The Netherlands produces more than half the world's flour supply, with the Dutch flour industry being worth over $3 billion a year. North Macedonia was in an over 20-year-long international dispute with Greece over its former name, Macedonia. The reason for this being Macedonia is the historic name of the northern region of Greece, and the Greek government felt that North Macedonia, a Slavic-speaking nation, had no right to use the Greek name. Norway is the only country in Europe to have been invited to join the European Union but choosing not to via referendum, with 52% of Norwegians voting against EU membership in 1991. Poland is technically a monarchy. This is because of a ceremonial act of the Polish Parliament in 2016 in which Jesus Christ was officially proclaimed King of Poland. Portugal was the last European country to give up its colonial empire, not granting independence to its African colonies until 1974 after a 13-year-long war, ending with a coup overthrowing the Portuguese government, forcing them to. They also held on to Timor-Leste until 1991 and the Chinese city of Macau until 1999, 2 years after Britain handed over Hong Kong. Despite the fact 77% of Russia's land is located outside of Europe, its European territory still makes it the largest country in Europe by far. Its area of 3.9 million square kilometres or 1.5 million square miles makes it over 6 times the size of the second largest nation in Europe, Ukraine. Romania is home to the highest population of brown bears in the EU, with 6,000 brown bears living in its Carpathian mountain range. San Marino is the world's oldest still existing republic, being founded by a Christian monk fleeing the Roman Great Persecution in 301 AD. It's also one of the 2 nations located entirely within Italy, alongside Vatican City. Scotland is the only nation in Europe to have a major nuclear base located near its largest city. The UK's nuclear submarine fleet is located at Hyde Naval Base, only 30 miles from Glasgow. Serbia is the most recent nation in the world to become landlocked, becoming landlocked in 2006 upon Montenegro's independence. Slovakia's capital city, Bratislava, is located on 2 international borders, bordering both Austria and Hungary on other sides of the Danube River. Spain is the only nation in Europe to still own territory on mainland Africa, owning 2 towns on the Moroccan coastline called Ceuta and Melilla, as well as several smaller North African territories. Sweden is the most forested nation in the EU and the most forested nation in Europe other than Russia, with forests covering 69% of the country's 528,000 square kilometres, an area larger than that of the UK. Switzerland has a long history of military non-alignment and non-interventionism, not fighting in any war since it was on the losing side of the Napoleonic Wars in 1812. Even though the European portion of Turkey, East Thrace, only comprises about 3% of Turkey's land area, its population of over 12 million people makes Turkey the 11th most populous nation in Europe. This is mainly due to it being home to Europe's largest city, Istanbul. Ukraine is one of the 2 nations in the world to voluntarily give up all of its nuclear weapons, handing its over 4,000 nukes over to Russia in 1991 after the dissolution of the USSR. However, even if Ukraine kept its nukes, it wouldn't have actually been able to use them as the USSR's nuclear launch system, controlling the nukes, was located in Russia. Wales is home to the world's most spoken Celtic language, with the Welsh language having 538,000 speakers in Wales itself as well as 110,000 speakers in England. There are also small numbers of Welsh speakers in Canada and Argentina. With the exception of Vatican City, Kosovo is the only nation in Europe to not be a member of the United Nations. The reason for this is because although Kosovo has been nominally independent since 2008, it is still claimed by Serbia. leading Russia and China to block Kosovo's attempt to become a UN member as they are supportive of Serbia's claim. If you've made it this far into the video, I want to say thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Also, make sure to comment topic ideas for me to make videos on. If I see a lot of people want me to make a video on a topic, I will probably make a video about it.